But Saleh in his presser after the game, I thought he said it really well. He's like, guys, this is kind of what I've been telling you. Young squad, they're going to be weeks where they look absolutely dynamite, and then there's going to be weeks where they don't even look like they belong in the league. Only one game. Let's take a reality check. Are we ready to forget about our second overall draft pick? And I think that's where, and I don't want to speak for you, Paul, but I think that's where our mindset is. Let's analyze things as we go, because again, great game, and man, did he look good in this game. But it is only just one game. We've seen players who don't necessarily go on to do much in the NFL have really outstanding football games. They play great in some games, and then they just kind of don't do a whole lot else. It just happens. So I am not going to speed through this ride. I'm going to let it go slowly. What do you think about that? Same thing, right?
The thing that I'm confused about, John, is you are speaking gospel.
What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into NYJ Today. I got some guests with me tonight. I got James from Jets X Factor. I got Green Bean from JetNation.com. It's great to see you boys. James, how you doing, man?
Good. I'm ready for tomorrow night, man.
Yeah.
I'm ready for tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. Green Bean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm really psyched to get into this with you guys. I'm happy it's Thursday because the buzz from Sunday is still kind of hanging around, and I just want to get right to it, man. I want to just jump back in and see what we got here. So I'm happy it's a Thursday night game, and I'm excited to chat with you guys about it.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being here. It really does mean a lot to us, and it's fun, man. I had Paul Esden on my channel on Sunday. And it's just awesome to talk to different people, man. So it's great to get different voices in here. So anyway, if you guys are in the chat right now, fill in the comments like you always do. We're going to go to some mailbag questions. Before we do, I'm going to just say hello. We got Bryant still in the chat, Rodrigo Costa, John Post, and Rick Fisher. So if you guys are in there and you're watching, go ahead and message me, and we will get to your comments as soon as we can. What did you think about that little thing with the Mike White award? He got stringed up to, with all that, with the silly string or whatever. What did you think about that, James?
Was that for like the Nickelodeon
yeah.
award that he just won?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, what a week for Mike White, huh?
Exactly.
But the guys are loving him, so it's a lot of fun. It's just like you said in the intro too. It's just kind of riding this thing out here, and it's good for Mike White. I feel like we've had fun with him in terms of like it's the unknown guy, but I mean, what a story of just taking advantage of an opportunity. So really cool for Mike White.
Very, very cool for him. I mean, again, if you're in his shoes, to finally get that shot and to capitalize like that, I mean, he has to feel like $1 million. Green Bean, what are your initial thoughts just on Mr. Mike White, because he is living the life right now?
Oh yeah. I didn't see that when I just saw it on the intro. I didn't know that was Mike White. I didn't even know what that was. So that's really cool. You know what, man? Like, think about this. How rare is it that we get a guy to come off the bench and actually look competent, on just competent? We had a guy come in and just surpass any expectations anybody had for him, and so it's more likely that he's going to settle back down to earth. I mean, I'm rooting for him to continue and be the best quarterback of all time. That's what I'm rooting for. But it's more likely that he'll settle down, at least to some degree. And if that happens, what a week for him, man. He heard the crowd chanting his name, Offensive Player of the Week. His jersey and ball are in the Hall of Fame. He gets silly string. We should all be so lucky to have that 5 minutes in your life where you reach a plateau and it has all of that surrounding it as well. I'm happy for him, man. I think it's really fantastic. The team seems to be really behind him, more so than just like they would be behind any teammate. They seem to genuinely like this guy, and I think that's exciting, man. I'm excited with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to root for him. And like you said, if we could all just enjoy 5 minutes of what he's gotten a taste of, we would probably all be thirsty all the time for it. So,
Yeah.
All right, we will go ahead and we'll get to our first mailbag. Grant Root says, hey, everyone, hope all is well. Go Jets Thursday Night Football. Colts are getting pounded by this wonderful offense that gets the ball into the playmakers' hands. And then Rodrigo Costa, he says, honestly, this is how we are supposed to feel every week. This team deserves the world, and honestly, the fans certainly deserve just a little drink of that sweet victory. I mean, I said it with Paul on Sunday. It's amazing how one win can change the feeling in your belly and just like the mindset that you have going into a next game. It's just crazy, man. All right, so let's get to our first one here. We've got this tweet from Mr. Woody Johnson himself. So, wait a minute. I got to throw this on top. This is behind everything. Wait a minute. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. Let's drag it up to the top. Nope, that didn't work. Let's try that again. No big deal. Boom. There we go. New uniform combo coming tomorrow night. Stay tuned. I'm pretty sure I know what the combo is. Green Bean, why don't you go first? Do you even care? Do you like the uniform idea of twisting it up a little bit? What are your thoughts on that? I like it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm all over the uniform stuff. People say it doesn't matter, just when you could wear pink and nobody would care. I disagree. I pay attention to those corny stats and all that stuff, like what our record is with the green pants and all that stuff. I've been paying attention to that since I'm a teenager, and so I'm into it. That said, I don't know what he means. Does he mean a combo that we've never seen before or just new this year? What is it? Black jerseys, white pants, something like that maybe? That would be cool. I'm in. I like it.
Yeah, and some people seem to think that 3 colors in one uniform, like all matched up, don't really work. I think it works really well, in fact, and a lot of teams do it. The Ravens do it. The Chargers do it. The Eagles do it. What do you think, James? What do you want to see?
Yeah, I think the white jerseys with the black pants would be pretty cool. I haven't decided on the socks yet. I don't know if I want black socks, white socks. I haven't gone as far as the socks yet, but I think the white jerseys with the black pants would be pretty cool. I had seen maybe a rumor circulating that the Colts are wearing blue, which then would require the Jets to wear white. I believe that's the NFL rule. Someone has to wear the white uniform. Probably other than when they did the whole color rush thing. But so the white jersey and the black pants, I'm kind of hoping to see that.
That's what I want to see. I think it looks tough, like when the Ravens wear those black bottoms and the white top, I think that's just a mean look. So I think that it would be nice if our uniforms had one concept where it looks really tough. I think it looks good. All right.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. I like what you guys are saying. You say, wait, black pants, white jersey?
Yeah. And James is wrong. James is wrong. It's got to be white socks. If you don't put white in between the pants and the shoes, you're messing it all up. So right. White socks with the black. So all right, all of that lighthearted stuff behind us. I do want to talk about, now I'm going to try to pronounce his name correctly here, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. And I have a question here from John Snow. Thanks for submitting it. He says, thoughts on the Dan Brown for Laurent Duvernay-Tardif trade with KC. He says, I love it. I know he opted out last year and hasn't played much this year, but I'll take someone who was a top 15-ish guard for our 4th string tight end any day. Anything to get GVR out of the starting lineup. We'll go to Green Bean first. Green Bean, thoughts on the trade? Not who wins, because it's obvious who won the trade, but just overall thoughts on the trade.
Well, in fairness, he was our 3rd tight end, so we don't need to dress it up any more than it is, Jon Snow, because it's a fantastic trade. Let's not forget why he opted out. He opted out because he's a legit medical doctor and chose to go into Canada and help out with the COVID stuff. So, I mean, that's talk about character guy. You know what I mean? Put his career on hold, went and kind of, dove into the trenches because he has that expertise. I think that's right in line with what Joe Douglas has been trying to bring in here. So I think it's fantastic. Look, dude, Daniel Brown, outside of special teams impact, it was low. He wasn't really what we would call an asset. Getting honestly a starting caliber guard for our third tight end, I think is a slam dunk. Now, I don't know if it means that Greg Van Roten is on alert or anything like that. One of the things I think it could mean is that it's insurance. We're down to our third tackle. Chuma Edoga's playing, and even though he played well, if he goes down, we're in trouble. So we know that Elijah Vera-Tucker could kick over to guard, and now we have a starting caliber guard that can slide in. So he offers all kinds of insurance. And then on the very real place, maybe Greg Van Roten's days are numbered, and that wouldn't be bad news either. So I love it, love it, love it. I think Joe Douglas once again pulled off a fantastic trade.
Yeah, hard to disagree. James, do you have any different takes or thoughts on the trade?
No, I mean, Green Bean, that's a great point with if something does happen to Edoga, Thursday night. I know Fant is questionable tomorrow night, but let's just say it comes down to that. Elijah Vera-Tucker played left tackle his senior year at USC, so he can slide over there if need be when you're in that kind of disaster-ish situation. But no, I mean, whenever you look at trades, you got to look at the value, and what we got in return for Daniel Brown just really was kind of over the top in terms of, you could potentially, now you have the cap space, not saying he's going to be paid a whole bunch of money, but you have the ability to retain him if you want to in the coming years. And there's going to be a new tight end here next year anyway. And it most likely wasn't going to be Daniel Brown. So the return, the value, and obviously the character kind of has Joe Douglas written all over it.
Well, and if we're going to put the green bean spin on this, Mr. Yeboah, maybe he gets notched up. Maybe he slides up a little bit here. And in all seriousness, I do see that as a silver lining. Even if you were saying to yourself, okay, we lose something on special teams or depth at tight end, Yeboah, maybe they said to themselves, okay, he's now prepared to be elevated, and I see that as a win-win for the Jets. You really can't knock the trade at all. And he seems like a really cool dude. I was listening to an interview with him, and he's an awesome guy. So hard to not like Mr. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. I'm still trying to practice that name.
I know, it's tough. LDD, right? Or something.
Yeah.
LDT.
LDT. Sounds like a really good sandwich. All right.
He waived his trade clause.
Yes. That's a good point to make.
Pretty cool thing, right? That means he was okay with coming here, which over the years it feels like that's kind of a knock where, it's, who wants to go there, who wants to be a part of that organization. So pretty cool that he maybe saw that, we got something going here. So pretty cool that he wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I didn't hear that. That's fantastic, man.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yep. And Tommy R in the chat, he says, I think Tardif will be starting in 2 weeks. He said they were in talks with the Jets for 3 weeks. So this was not something that they had just kind of at the spur of the, right before the trade deadline, just said, hey, want to trade? Like, they've been in negotiations now for a long time. Thanks for sharing that, Tommy. Rodrigo, he says, depending on how GVR behaves, I like that one. If he doesn't behave himself, young man, you gonna sit down. He says he could be the starter next week. I think that there might be some learning curve for LDT. I thought maybe by the Buffalo game he could slide his way in if things are not improved for the misbehaved young man at GVR. So we'll see, man. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. All right. Going to keep going here. All right. We got Mr. Frankie from Flatbush checking in. Good to see you, my man. Gitmo Bob. He says, LDT said he was a right guard, and so a right guard, so GVR could move over to left guard if AVT had to move to left tackle. Going to need a glossary soon with all these initials.
Yeah.
I will say, and before,
AVT.
yeah, right. One thing that does make me a little nervous, and I talked about this earlier in the offseason when we were talking about Morgan Moses and putting him at guard, and then if somebody were to get hurt, we can move him. I'm not a big believer in reshuffling the offensive line. I think that's a scary thing. James, why don't you go first on that? Thoughts on potentially moving 3/5 of the offensive line if one dude goes down?
Yeah, the only thing it becomes is that shuffle necessary, right? Because you have Morgan Moses, he's going to stay at right tackle. And is the move necessary where you've lost Becton, you've lost Fant, and you've lost Adoga? At that point, you're kind of in a disaster situation. So I feel like you can make the move because it'll most likely be temporary. Obviously we're hoping Becton comes back pretty soon. But I'd be okay with it as long as it's that short-term mindset that Elijah Vera Tucker moves over and then we get it back kind of into place. And I know it's going to kind of mess with chemistry here and there, to kind of keep shuffling things around. That's just the nature of it. But if you're dealing with that many injuries, I think it's just a situation that you're going to have to deal with and shuffle accordingly.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that one. Sorry, I deleted one of my things. I'm trying to get it back. There we go. All right, we got our next mailbag. I think I already got it. Yeah, this is a new one. So he sent this to me on Monday. He said, just a happy guy enjoying Victory Monday. Listen, that's like the best thing ever. Monday morning, you feel like $1 million, like Mike White. We all felt like Mike White, on Monday. A much more mild version of it, but we all felt really good going into Monday. All right, next mailbag. This is from Full Press Jets. And he says, Michael Carter is very good at football. Bryce Hall is very good at football. And I think that he was talking about Michael Carter, the cornerback. He could have been talking about the running back, of course, but I think because he mentioned Bryce Hall. Correct me if I'm wrong. Michael Carter has played like several hundred snaps on defense, and I don't think he's allowed a touchdown.
That's right.
5th round draft pick, Mr. Joe Douglas. Check on 2 cornerbacks that look like keepers, man. What are your thoughts on that, Green Bean? Hitting on Michael Carter 1 year, Bryce Hall the year prior to that. We all hear the noise about people saying Joe Douglas's draft classes aren't good, and I'm not ready to buy that at all. So what do you think?
No way. Yeah, that's the whole thing. People like to focus on the negatives, and we know that. And I think it's second nature, right? They're more glaring. They tend to stick out more. But the truth is just like you said, we have a series of 5th round, 6th round, undrafted free agents. That's what's going on in our defensive backfield outside of Marcus May and even Ashton Davis. He was a 3rd round pick, but generally speaking, all the cornerbacks are late round picks, and they look good, man. They look like keepers. Now, maybe we bring in a guy from the 2nd round and he battles with Eccles or something like that, but even Eccles looks like he belongs, so these guys are, how many cornerbacks have we gone through that just flat out sucked? Like they couldn't do anything. McCagden had those 3 young guys, Parry Nickerson, Clark, and the other fella, and they were on our team for like 3 years before we even really saw them play. They just sat there, and then when they got in, they were train wrecks. And it's like, so you groom these guys for years and they can't play. That's why I like so much, even though it's scary, the choice that they made to like even let Blesson Austin go. Hey, these are the guys we have. They're all young. We're going to get them their playing time right now. We're going to see what they look like. They're going to take their lumps right in front of us and see how they do. And even though they're not perfect, they're sloppy at times. Eccles gave up the touchdown to Chase. Bryce Hall gave up a touchdown. But overall, they kept a very prolific group of receivers. That receiving core is legit, man. Higgins, Boyd, and Jamar Chase. We kept them to a very, very human number. And a lot of people were expecting Jamar Chase in particular to go off, and they didn't. And that's because of their play. And I think it's amazing. And that's one of the things, like you said, John, Joe Douglas has really done well, much better than we're used to seeing in the later rounds. Now, just like I say, don't write off the 2020 draft class, and we saw Jabari Zuniga in his first name make some impact. Those guys, we got to give them time. I think it's also dangerous to like label these guys as locks or anything yet. But up until this point, I couldn't be happier with what we're seeing from those guys, man. And then they're disciplined, they're playing hard, and Ulbricht and Tony Oden are our defensive backs coach. What a masterful job he's done.
Yep, coaching and teaching at its finest. James, what are your thoughts on? We haven't talked about Michael Carter, the running back. You can talk about him a little bit, and also the cornerback, Michael Carter, the second.
Yeah, no, I mean, Michael Carter, the running back, I mean, what a phenomenal day for him. 9 catches, 95 yards. I mean, he's got that wiggle. He's got that contact balance. He never goes down the first try. He's always up on his feet. And so I went to the game on Sunday. I was there, and I had a really good look at that first touchdown run he had, and it was great blocking. AVT kind of came on a pull around. Denzel Mims did a great job on the safety, but he just has like a really subtle wiggle to him, Michael Carter, where he makes the move and you can't really tell. He's very small, so you don't really understand where he's about to move to. And he just kind of glided right into the end zone. And I was standing, I was like 20 rows up from that end zone, and it was just like, holy crap, he just scored. Like it happened so easily for him. And so he deserves his flowers for that game. He's going to be a contributor on this offense for years. I know we're not putting locks on anyone, but I feel like he's a guy where, even if he's not running back one all-pro type of caliber, he's going to be a huge contributor on this offense that can, potentially turn into really anything, that he wants to be, because he's got the talent. And then that secondary, man, Bryce Hall I didn't label him cornerback 1 coming into the year. I said he had the potential to be cornerback 1. And that's kind of one of my claims to fame here coming, because I really do think that he is that caliber of a player. We would not have him on this roster if he didn't have that horrible injury at Virginia, because that's just how good he is. He's gotten more patient this year. He doesn't fall for that first move where he turns his hips. He stays really square with the receiver, and he did that a lot with T. Higgins this week on Sunday, and it benefited him. I mean, T. Higgins had that ridiculous kind of catch at the 1 yard line, I think it was. Great coverage. Think that just happens. It's the National Football League. Those plays are going to continue to happen for the rest of Bryce Hall's career. As long as you're in position, that's all you can really ask for. And he'll make those plays, more often than not. Sometimes the receiver just gets the best of you. So, and then Michael Carter II, hasn't allowed a touchdown. And kind of to add to that, right? So we have Bryce Hall's the 5th round pick. Michael Carter II is a 5th round pick too. Am I correct, or is he another 4th round pick?
No, Bryce was a 5th. Yeah.
Bryce was a 5th, and
Pinnock was the 4th. Pinnock was our 4th. Yeah.
And then Eccles was a 5th, I believe, or a 6th. We had so many of those. It's kind of 6th. And then the other big contributor there is Javelin Guidry, who was an undrafted free agent. So you kind of you look at that, and it's just kind of a masterful job of teaching and finding the guys that could be impactful. And we'll see where the offseason takes us. We have a lot more assets, so they're not going to stop adding to certain groups. But great job by Joe Douglas. We just have to be a little bit more patient. I know the Patriots game was about as bad as things can get, but they're gonna get better every single week. So we just gotta relax a little bit and let this thing play out.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna add on to that, just Carter's balance. Like he's able to keep his feet under him when he's being, people are hanging off of him, and I'm not just thinking about the play where he avoided, that play where he basically was down but wasn't down. It was like all over the whole game he was doing it, and it was in the passing game, the running game. So his versatility is just through the roof. I love what I saw from him. The last 2 weeks, he has 17 receptions, who's to say he's not going to catch another 4 to 5 at least this week, right? Like he's going to be in the receiving game moving forward the rest of the season. And then the other thing I was going to add, I just forgot. I hate that. That's okay though. No big deal. My points are not as important as your points tonight. So, all right, we'll move on. We've got many more, a mailbag, and it covers pretty much like there's like a million of them tonight. So here's the next one. Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. There were a couple of not negative comments, but basically comments like, hey guys, slow your roll. This team still has a pretty weak defense. It was from Bib Dibv. He says the Jets are 28th in defense, guys. Let's not get carried away. This was actually kind of funny. He said by 2030 we'll be in the top 5. No, nobody's celebrating. Nobody's hitting the checkered mark on the at the race. We're not finishing the race here with our defense as is, but we are celebrating. What again? The matchup was incredible. So the wide receivers for the Bengals are very, very good, very, very talented, and they held up. And again, I know it's 31 points, but one of those was, I believe, a pick six, or did we? I thought or we tackle them at the 1 yard line, and then we had that. Okay, so turnovers, and they got to play a little bit better. They got to get more pass rush. That's really the biggest thing. Is pass rush to me needs to get better. So anyway, moving on to the next one. We got more Bryce Hall. Jets fan since 1988. He says, Bryce Hall is the truth. Can't really be disputed now. In short, I was right. A lot of us were really, really excited about Mr. Bryce Hall coming into the year. Some more than others, but man, we were certainly hopeful for him to be a cornerback too, and it certainly seems that he's hit that for sure. From Pete Antonelli, he says, you know what my favorite part of yesterday was? He says he gave up a big ball to Higgins, and dude got up screaming and flexing. Next play, they went at him again for the touchdown. After breaking it up, Hall didn't say a damn thing, just looked and walked away. That shit gets to you, LOL. Yeah, man, great attitude. Again, what's not to like with Bryce Hall right now? He's a really good dude too. If you're a religious person, he's very he's devout Christian. So he's a cool guy. Very, very cool person.
Yeah, he's known too. Like he's unshakable. Like negative stuff never ever gets under his skin. He always flips it into a positive, like everything. So he's really one of those guys that you want on your team. And that was a great observation. Like he's never going to be a punk. He's just there to do his job. He's there to try his hardest and be disciplined and all. And I'm telling you, he's such a great teammate to have. Yep. Love him.
Yeah, hard to not root for people like him. All right, we got a Mike LaFleur mailbag. This is from our own Rodrigo Costa. He says, is this a turning point for LaFleur? He seemed to have a better grasp on the play calling from the booth. James, you're our designated OC for this channel, so talk to me a little bit about some of the things you saw. The trick plays and all of that's the most obvious thing for everybody, but what were some of the other nuances you saw in the game? And then I'll go to your green bean.
Yeah, so for Mike LaFleur, and I'll say, I think we spoke about this maybe last week, but I really was kind of unsure if him being in the booth was going to make a big difference. That's my honest truth. I said it. Obviously, it did make somewhat of a difference. That he's able to see, kind of bird's eye view, and he could do things a little bit faster in terms of, kind of seeing it with his own eyes. I kind of thought maybe there'd be somebody in the booth that's kind of relaying that down to him, but it made him more comfortable up there from what we believe, right? But schematically, nothing really changed in terms of, what they continued to run with the staples. Now, it was the situational stuff for me, right? Like, I think we were about 5 or 6 plays in until we ran our first run play. There was a lot of motion. He threw in the trick plays, but really, honestly, Mike White did such a good job of executing what he was supposed to do. And it was great for Zach. Maybe that's a hot take. It was great for Zach to be up in that booth and see it, because Mike White made it look easy, right? He made it look like, hey, you don't have to be Superman, right? Take the short stuff, go through your progression. I love as much as the next guy when Zach rolls out and he tries to throw it to 60 yards down the field. We saw that in the Titans game that he has the ability to do that. But ultimately, the offense kind of is predicated on side to side, getting the ball out quick, and kind of letting your playmakers have the ball in space. The Michael Carters of the world. Jamison Crowder got involved a good amount. Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore. So schematically, there was nothing really very different. It was just Mike White was very poised. He stayed in the pocket. He went through his progressions. And if it meant checking the ball down, he checked the ball down. And they kind of got rolling there. And they threw in just enough trick plays to kind of keep the Bengals on their feet, right? Mm-hmm. I really hammered Mike LaFleur last week against the Patriots because I was just upset that the Patriots came out with their, heads on fire, throwing the wide receiver pass for a touchdown, and then we came out in response, and it was just, all right, let's run two run plays to get Zach, eased into the game. I mean, you got punched in the face. There's no more easing in. You gotta respond and throw some haymakers back, and that didn't happen. And this week he put it all out on the table. So I'm pretty excited for him. It could be a turning point in terms of he might feel like, okay, I can just stick with the regular stuff. I can just stick with the staples. All we got to do is just get Zach to understand that he doesn't have to be Superman. Just get the ball out of your hands quick, and this offense will move forward.
Wouldn't that be funny if this game was like an awakening for Zach Wilson? He knows that's what they want him to do, but maybe seeing a guy in the green and white, or I guess black and green in this case, seeing a guy doing that and having a hell of a lot of success. We all are critical of Mac Jones, or I guess some people are critical of him for not going downfield a whole lot. The shit works. It works, man. Going, using the check down options and using those short to intermediate routes, it works. And in this offense, it seems to work really well to the tune of 400 yards and almost 10 yards per attempt. So, I don't know, man. What do you think about the offensive? No, you're good, man. Sorry about that. Go ahead. You can finish up, James.
Yeah, no, sorry. Just a quick point. Like, it sounds stupid, but you get a fresh set of downs if you just get 10 yards. That's right. That's what this offense comes down to is negate the negative plays, try to stay ahead of the sticks, and just move the ball methodically down the field. If you get 10 yards, you get a whole new set of downs. Try to limit the third down, the third and sixes, the third and fives. Try to get down there and just methodically move the ball down the field. And, I think it's going to be great for Zach to just be like, hey, wait, that's it? I could get 405 yards doing that?
That's what I'm saying.
So it's,
That's exactly
so I'm sorry,
what
go ahead.
No, you're good. Green Bean, any additional thoughts from Mike LaFleur, the game planning and all of that stuff?
Yeah, well, I think, look, there's obviously that benefit of being in the booth that you get that different view, that bird's eye view, and I'm convinced that is beneficial. I think that's real, but I think the benefit really comes in when you have LaFleur on the sideline. He has to manage the entire sideline. He's interacting with players, all that kind of stuff. Guys wondering why they're not getting in, glaring at him, whatever is going on there. He's talking with Zach. When he's in the booth, he was able to just kind of focus on the game plan, because one of the things I noticed was that Kavanaugh was significantly more animated this game. It was actually the first thing I noticed. I said to my son, I said, look at Kavanaugh meeting, White on the sideline between plays or something like that. I was struck by it. It stuck out to me that he was kind of moving around a lot. And I think when LaFleur's down there, Kavanaugh seemed to be kind of allowing him to run the sideline. So if LaFleur's up in the booth just worrying about the game plan and what's going to be happening next, Kavanaugh did a really good job of kind of running the show on the sideline. And that guy's been in the league 30 years. He was a quarterback as well in the NFL. So I think that's a lot of benefit, man. Like LaFleur can remove himself from the interactions on the sideline, get up there, just focus on what you're doing, and let Kavanaugh run the show and interact with the players. And I noticed it. That was actually how I figured out that LaFleur was in the booth. I didn't know yet. That was the way I saw it. But I think that's a little secret benefit that a lot of people aren't talking about. I noticed it, and I think it's very, very real because Kavanaugh is now the guy, like the boss, for lack of a better term, on the sideline. While LaFleur, all you got to worry about, LaFleur, is the game plan. Don't think about anything else. I'll take care of the quarterbacks. I'll take care of the dynamics between the receivers. I got it. And then LaFleur can just do what he does, and I think that probably had something to do with it as well.
So a book that I had read when I was in college, it's about leadership, and it's called From Good to Great. And it talks about how there's good companies, good businesses that do good things, and it's those businesses that do the extra stuff that really elevate to that higher stratosphere. And one of the biggest things they talked about was delegating and knowing how to not be the sage on the stage, basically. Like, you're the one running everything, and you need to have people that you can rely on to do their responsibilities so that you can also be the best version of yourself. So Green Bean, I have to say, very well said. I agree with it. I don't think it's one of those things we can scoff at. The proof is in the pudding. He was far more creative, and the game plan was just more aggressive in general, I thought, as well. All right, cool. So I want to get to the chat because there's a couple of interesting comments, and then we'll go back to our mailbag. Whew! Grant Rude, he says, I disagree with the better from the booth sentiments. White was the same in the Bengals game. Or I'm sorry, the same in the Pats game that he was in the Bengals game. The booth versus the field, Beck versus no Beck, it didn't matter between the two games. Well, I mean, we saw some differences, and I think that we didn't even touch on Beck yet. The John Beck thing is great. I think it is a benefit to Zach. And again, how can you not be hopeful that has some sort of impact on Zach, if not now, in the future? Because they hired him. He is a New York Jets coach now. He is the quarterback guy, and I'm excited to see what John Beck can do to maybe go back to basics with Zach and get him back on the right track. Vern says Zach doesn't know how to go through his progressions, so we're getting some of that Zach Wilson, I guess, hate, really. People are knocking on him. We'll see, man. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the coaches change and how they adapt the offense to help him, and they obviously did that for Mike White. We'll see. They certainly needed to change things. That was one of the things that I was most disappointed with going into the Pats game, just because it felt like there were so many things that needed to be changed, and we didn't really see that.
None.
And then you did see it. And then you did see it, not just in production, but really in play calling and getting more people involved. Mims played the most snaps he had played all season long by a long shot in that football game, which again was something I felt like they should have done coming out of the bye week.
Yeah.
No pain, no gain. I am so psyched for Thursday night's game. I don't want to get my expectations up too high, but that's easier said than done after last week's game. I just don't want to be disappointed. There is not a single Jets fan that disagrees with that, I don't think. That is exactly how I feel. I will not get myself as hyped up as I was coming out of the Titans game because I was super excited out of that game. Jean-Jacques Sosi. He says, it was nice to be a fan again. Out of control, jumping, screaming like a teenager back in the 80s. Let managers manage and fans be fans. I like it. And then we have a couple of questions as well. Where did it go? Oh, it left me. Oh, here it is. Rick Fisher. Sorry. He says, will the Jets alter the game plan significantly this week? The Colts scoured the plan last week, I'm sure. We'll go to Green Bean first this time. Green Bean, any thoughts on how we'll change going against the Colts? 3-5 club. That's probably better than what their record says they are, even though Bill Parcells, he famously said that you are what your record says you are. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think they better change the game plan. The Colts are one of the better run defenses in the league, and they're also number one for takeaways. Mm-hmm. So we have to be really efficient against these guys. But I have hope. Like, coming out of the New England game, I had very little hope for anything Mike LaFleur could do. It was just like you said, John, coming out of the bye, I really expected to see some changes, and we saw none. Now they waited a week and then did all the changes, so I'm happy. Hey, better late than never, so to speak. But I liked what Mike White said about LaFleur when he said that he called him the day before and basically said, hey, look, they're going to think that we're going to come out running because it's your first start and all that stuff. And honest to God, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. So they came out throwing specifically to counteract what they expected the Bengals to do, and it worked. And it caused some momentum to, flood over to our side, and we capitalized and on and on. So I'm hoping, and I think that comment gives me hope, that LaFleur is going to be looking at what the Colts do well and try to take them by surprise with doing something else. Running up the A-gap isn't going to work. I'm going to tell you right now. Maybe later in the game, but they're going to be ready for it, and they're going to stop it, quite frankly. I don't see much chance in that being how we start the game. Now, the short intermediate stuff, like the screens and checkdowns, that's also going to be hard to come by in this game. In truth, they're weaker a little bit further back in the defense. So that's kind of one of those things. We didn't see Mike White do that too much. And when he did take his shots, he didn't connect. So that's one of those things. He has the arm, but I think we're going to try to push it a little bit because the Colts are going to be stacking the box, trying to take away the running game and the short passing game. If we can loosen them up right from the get-go, and I think seriously, 15-yard passes, things like that, getting behind them, that's what's going to be successful. So I expect them to try to come out and do that. And if they do, we're really going to find out what Mike White can do, man. We're going to learn some stuff this week.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people are expecting to see not 400 yards, I'll say that. People are expecting to see something a little less, and so it'll be interesting to see what kind of game he's able to put together. Leonard is an absolute man-child. That guy is a beast, absolute beast. Darius Leonard of the Colts, that is. And DeForest Buckner is a beast. They've got several really good defensive players for the Colts. James, what are you thinking going into the game? What kind of adjustments? That was Rick Fisher's question.
Yeah, so 53 over there, Darius Leonard is going to be the guy you have to keep your eye on him because he's going to be everywhere. And kind of the route concepts that were run pretty often for Mike White last week, the slant flat, and then they had a tight end kind of do a short curl over the middle. This way, if nothing was there, he could just dump it off right. Croft, Griffin, they hit on those a couple early in the game. And you have to be really careful with those if you're going to come back late to your third progression to somebody over the middle because 53 is going to be kind of lurking around. And so, yeah, what I would do, let's just have a little fun here.
Fun is fun. Let's have fun, baby.
If I'm LaFleur, first play of the game, I got number 8 in the slot to the right of Mike White. I got Michael Carter to the left, and I'm probably going to take Michael Carter and motion him out, or orbit motion is what you call it. Like he goes around the quarterback and out, and then I'm going to have Elijah Moore coming over the middle and try to get him something short, kind of like those passes where Peyton Manning, if you guys were watching Monday Night Football, he was pissed off that those short little passes to the motioning receiver count as passes and not runs. Now he's like, if I would have known that, I would have done that so many times in my career. But I really want to try to get those linebackers running, those defensive lines running, get them sideline to sideline early. Right. Try to wind up opening that middle up, because if you just try to sit there, like Green Bean said, and just try to run up the A-gap and hope, maybe they're just going to have a bad day, it's going to wind up being a bad day for you. So try to spread them out. in terms of try to get them running side to sideline, really open up maybe that middle, and that's how you can attack with the run game at some point. But I would use the momentum from Sunday, right? Go. I'm not saying, I kind of said it last week. I'm not saying you got to be Dan Campbell and onside kick it every other possession. Go for it every punt, or be crying on the podium and things like that. Like, it's all we're asking for is just be creative enough to keep the defense on their toes. And I think they have, the players now. We've seen Michael Carter. We've seen Elijah Moore. Jamison Crowder is more than capable. And if we don't have Corey Davis, Keelan Cole and Denzel Mims really stepped up. I saw the one comment before that Denzel Mims dropped the TD pass. He did. Happens. We move on. He got a lot of snaps, and he's working. So those will come for him eventually. But yeah, so biggest game plan aspect I'd have was really try to get these guys running sideline to sideline early, attack the outsides because they are weaker over there on the outsides, and see if that maybe opens up your run game up the middle a little bit, or your outside zone run game.
All right, cool. Really good stuff, guys. Rodrigo, there's a couple of good comments here. Rodrigo said that Connor Hughes on today's Can't Wait podcast was heavily critical of bringing in John Beck, arguing that players don't need their own coaches on the team. F that guy. Screw him.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, so John Beck was brought in. Zach Wilson can't even play for 3 more weeks. So did we just bring him in to sit here and talk with Zach Wilson on the phone or something? No, he's here to coach the quarterbacks. He was talking with Mike White on the sideline. They were working on stuff. He's here to coach, man. I think it's a great move. Like I said, Zach isn't even playing for 3 weeks, and I guarantee he's involved. It's another expert voice in the room. Rob Calabrese is super young, first-time quarterback coach. I think it's a solid move, maybe acknowledging that Calabrese might be a little bit in over his head, so to speak. So bringing in Kavanaugh, bringing in Flacco, bringing in John Beck in the last week, I think it's an acknowledgement that our young staff has had trouble, and we're bringing in some reinforcements. I think it's a great move.
Yeah, and like you said, he is a coach on the New York Jets staff. It wasn't just for Zach Wilson. Of course, that connection means something. That's one of the reasons why they were interested in him. But Beck, he's getting his first go at this. Like, he's now in the coaching realm, which he hadn't really been doing, I don't think. He had been QB coaching people on the side, like part of that was his career. And now he is a coach on an NFL team. So I don't really see it that way. And just forget it. Who cares? This guy he's just, they all are. And I'm not attacking him personally by saying this. That's what they're doing. They're trying to get people to watch and to listen, and they want people to react. So I don't have a reaction, unfortunately, for him. So, all right. Somebody new to the channel, he's got a comment here. He says Crowder is going to be involved heavily in this game. Kind of talked about Elijah Moore a little bit as well, being active in the slot, being in motion. I think Crowder definitely will be involved, and he was targeted a couple of times for sure by Mike White, so I can't really say I disagree with that at all. This was one of my favorite comments of the night so far, because it is damn true. I think that the Colts will look to take away the short stuff. I mean, how could they not? Eberflus, is it Eberflus of the Colts? Eberflus. He will definitely scheme something up. He's a great coach. He was one of the coaches that I believe the Jets were interested in during the hiring period, or the interview period, I should say. Vervain, he says, Mike White didn't complete a pass more than 15 yards in the air. He will have to make a few of those throws if we're going to win tomorrow. I actually think I would agree with this one. I think he doesn't need to be airing it out downfield constantly, but a couple of throws, and I would say maybe even early in the game, to create some room for the underneath and intermediate stuff. I think that would be helpful. So I think if we're going to win it on the road in Indianapolis primetime, get a couple of throws down the field just a little bit. And Robbie Oaks saying, let's get Mims on a double move. I think that's all well and good for sure. I think he needs to be targeted down the field more. I don't know why they still haven't utilized him quite yet in that way, going down the field. I know that's not necessarily Mike White's strength, perhaps. I mean, I'm still learning about this guy, as we all are. So, All right. We'll keep moving along here. I've got a couple more mailbags here. Let's see. Wilson versus Mike White. What is this? So Garrett Ham, he said, is it sad that I want Wilson to come back so that the performance by White will live in infamy? What do you think about that? Green Bean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you want, I mean, we all want Wilson to come back. Do we really care?
What was the question? I'm sorry. I missed it.
No, it's okay. Just pay attention, buddy. We're on live right now.
Yeah, I know. In the chat.
I'm just messing with you. Is it sad that I want Wilson to come back so that the performance by White will live in infamy?
Oh, yeah. Sad? I don't know. I think it just, hey, man, you can feel like you feel. I mean, look, I'm seeing a lot on Twitter in particular. There are a lot of guys who were big proponents of drafting Zach Wilson that are almost taking this personal. They're feeling like there's some sort of way. And I really think that we should do our best not to think about it like that. Like, no matter who it is, and there was a comment in the chat earlier, it's like, if White's TB12 for us, great. If Zach is TB12 for us, great. As long as one of them is. You know what I mean? One of these guys needs to be able to be here long term, and that's what I think. And I think, Garrett's question, it's more like, or comment, it's more likely that we're not going to see another 400-yard game or even a 300. It's more likely that it's going to be more realistic, right? So, right, it's almost like, hey, that was the one big game. Just put him back and we'll just save it. We'll just keep it as a crown. And I get that. At the same time, I'm really curious to see what this guy has. And let's see if he can be that miracle that we've been waiting for my whole entire 40 years of being a friggin' Jets fan. Why? Come on. So I get it, but I think I'm rooting to watch him. I want to see him go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to just see him play again. I want to see what he's got in store for us. And I'm kind of on that same frame of thought that he's going to, I don't think he's going to crash back down to earth, but I think that there will be a little bit of a slide there. So I did put a poll up before the show. What are you expecting from Mike White? Looks like 43% of the people, and actually, hold on a second, 89% of the people say a good game or another shockingly good game. So most people are pretty optimistic. All right, we got that out of the way. Did you have any comment on that, James?
No, I mean, listen, I'm a huge Zach Wilson guy. I mean, I clamored all offseason for him. I couldn't wait for them to draft him, and that really hasn't changed for me. I can't wait to see him play again. But listen, hey, you ride the wave, and there's no reason to force or rush Zach back now, right? I mean, it's let him play. You could, even if Mike White has a so-so game where it's not that great, you at least know who he is in terms of at least the capability where you could throw him out there against the Bills in another week and a half. And Zach's not rushing out there and on a so-so knee because he likes to move around and he likes to get out of the pocket. You don't risk any long-term injury. But I mean, listen, if Mike White is Tom Brady, then I'm all in. But even if he's not, right? We had a discussion for how long about the fact that we had no veteran quarterback, nobody with experience. What if Mike White could be a part of this quarterback room as a quarterback to Zach Wilson for years to come, where you have a guy behind Zach Wilson who knows the offense,
right,
who has shown who he could play before, and we don't have to worry about having someone who's 35 years old and kind of just blah, for a lack of a better word. And you could have two young guys in your quarterback room that can really just kind of work together here in the future, and you feel comfortable that if something does happen to Zach, we have a viable option back there.
Yeah. And this is a good comment to wrap that discussion up. Matthias Simon, he says, look, let's not fool ourselves. Zach's upside is much higher. Like, that is
right.
I don't think we can debate that one. Like, as much as we want a quarterback to be great, we don't really care who it is. I mean, we want it to be Zach because we drafted him number 2 overall, but I don't know if it's disputable. There is a lot of talent with Zach, and the hope is that he can harness it and get it going. All right, we'll move on. There's a couple more here, and then we will get to a couple of discussion points for the upcoming game. We've talked a little bit about it off and on, but I want to get a little bit more specific. All right, so this is from New Era Jets. He's on Twitter. He said, considering Mike White played lights out and Zach Wilson is out for a short period of time, do you ride with the hot hand in Mike White and let Zach Wilson sit, or let Zach Wilson come back and start because he was drafted second overall? This one got a lot of intrigue, a lot of discussion on Twitter. What do you think, James? What do you do? I know a lot of it depends on his performance in the game tomorrow and potentially in Buffalo. Is it in Buffalo, the first one, or this? Is it?
No, it's the first one's at MetLife.
Okay, so I think a lot of it depends on his next two games. I think he will play these next two. I don't know if Zach's going to come back after Indy. Why don't you go ahead first? What do you think?
Yeah, so I have a feeling you ride. Let's just say, right, Mike White plays great. He could play great against Buffalo, and we could still lose the game. So just based on his performance, I feel like you have to go with the hot hand. That's just my opinion. And I think the other aspect about it is you can't just give something to somebody because they were the second overall pick, right? That's not how you need to run the locker room, right? That sends a bad message, in my opinion. Something that adults, like they're professional adults, they're going to catch on to, like, okay, well, hey, we're kind of riding this wave here a little bit, and you're going to put Zach in just because he was the second overall pick. They're there to win football games. Every game matters to each and every single one of those, whether it's for the Jets or they got an upcoming free agency period where they're trying out. Every day, every play, every game is a tryout for these guys because, first of all, football, not a long career, but second of all, you don't always stay with the same team. So those teams that are looking at you in free agency, they go back to all these games. Guys want to win. They want to be a part of something. So I think it sends a bad locker room message if it's just, oh, hey, Mike White, thanks for the great performances, but we're just going to put the kid back in because he's the second overall pick. That doesn't mean I think Zach Wilson is done. I just think in terms of the entire football team and the organization, the correct decision would be, okay, continue to sit Zach. He could be on the sideline in uniform, ready to go if something happens to Mike White. But if this team is winning football games and Mike White is continuing to play well, I think you ride with Mike White and you let this thing kind of play out until it dies out here. And that's my honest opinion. And I think it has more to do with just Zach. It has a lot to do with the entirety of this roster and everybody in the organization.
Very well said. Green Bean, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. I mean, look, if Mike White over the next, let's say Zach's out 4 weeks and Mike White is 3-1 or 2-2 and really looks impressive, just like James just said, it's like you have to think of the entire team. He is now, what we would call the hot hand. The team is rallying. We look better than we have all season. You just keep going with it. I don't think it's fair to, and not to use the word fair, but I don't think it's the right move to take someone who hasn't proven anything other than, be a high draft pick and remove somebody that the team has rallied behind and they're all kind of, moving forward together. I think that would be a mistake. Very similar to what you saw with Flores and, last year with Fitzpatrick and Tua. He benched Fitzpatrick, put Tua in, then a couple weeks later he's benching Tua. And I thought that was a terrible move from the word go. Fitzpatrick, they were winning games and he decided to just take him out. And I think it would be a mistake if Mike White is looking like a competent NFL quarterback and the team is looking good with him.
Yeah, and I'll only just add a few things. I think that he's going to have to be really impressive to keep Zach on the bench. He can't just be, mediocre, run-of-the-mill quarterback. He's going to need to do some special things, and I think that could lead to some trouble if he's pressing. I don't know if he'll do that. I have no clue, and none of us do, but if he presses to impress, Like that. If he presses to impress, that could lead to some problems for him, obviously, and he just needs to play his game. I do agree with both of you. I think that if he plays a solid football game, and God help us, if we win 2 in a row here, how could you possibly? The only scenario I could think of is if our defense leads the charge and he's just not very good. Then you could make the switch for sure. So ultimately, is Zach done? Like you said, James, there's no freaking way. They will play him again at some point. But I think if the hot hand is hot, you keep going to it. It's kind of like the saying, let a sleeping babe lie. You don't wake up a sleeping baby. You let that thing go. This is the same type of situation. If you've got a hot quarterback, let that quarterback play. All right, cool. I think we've got a couple more. Let me see here. What do we have? We got that one. And this should be the last one. And this goes right along with it. This is the last mailbag of the night. So Isaac Benjamin, a longtime listener of the channel, he says, ride White as long as you can. Not saying Wilson / White is Brady / Bledsoe type of thing, but ride the backup as long as you can. We need to keep in mind that it's only one game, but let's see what White can do on Thursday night. And this is a great way to end that discussion because that is the correct approach. Just one game at a time, and I know that's cliche. We're not football players, but really and truly, as fans, we really should just look at it one game at a time. Mike White was fun as hell to watch. Let's see what he can do this coming week. If he does it again, if we're all sitting there just laughing ourselves pink over the performance, like, okay, go ahead and play again. I'll be just fine and dandy with that. But like you said, Jets Unleashed, tomorrow will tell us a whole hell of a lot.
Yep.
All right, good stuff. We are not done with the show yet, so if you guys want any more comments to be put in here, go ahead and load them up. We have talked a lot about LaFleur. We've talked about, let me make sure I get everything. I think we got everything. So here's what we're going to switch gears to. We're going to switch to a game plan. Talked a little bit about it, James, earlier, spreading or trying to get their linebackers to move laterally, spread them out so that maybe we can attack the middle. Why don't you go first, Green Bean? What are you doing defensively, offensively? How aggressive are you in the game? Are you going for it on 4th down early? That kind of stuff. What are you doing to try to get the second back-to-back upset win?
Well, offensively, again, I think that trying to loosen them up, that's where, I was talking with a Colts content guy earlier today and last night. Spent some time with them, and not that it's weakness, but that their cornerbacks seem to be where they are susceptible. You know what I mean? Even though they get a lot of turnovers and all that, so they're ready for that short stuff. They're going to be ready for it, and don't forget they're coming off a major disappointment where they should have won. They should have won that game. Some balls bounced the wrong way for them, so to speak, and they lost. They're going to be furious, fuming. This isn't going to be a trap game. They're going to come in rearing to go with a fervor that can be dangerous, and they're going to want to take away the entire game plan that we won with last week. So I think coming out and trying that 15 plus those shots, not bombs, right? Not bombs, just kind of trying to spread their defense out and let them know, you want to come up here and hang out here, we're going to shred you. Just enough to do that. So then we can start to keep them on their heels and spread things around a little bit. Just like James said so perfectly, getting their linebackers and even linemen to run east to west to stop 3-4 yard runs. That's what you want to do. You don't want to just run right into their mouth. You want to keep them running sideways, from sideline to sideline, getting them, spread out all over the place. That's what you want to do, especially with a defense like this. Now, on our defense, we're going to have to take away a very dangerous running back room. Pittman is another one, but Ty Hilton isn't playing. But their running backs, Taylor and everybody else, they've even gone as far as to run 22 personnel with 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and you don't know what they're going to do because they're all, they could be utility. They can block, they can catch, they can run, all that sort of stuff. So the thing with us is I think that I know we like to be aggressive on the defensive line, but it is my opinion that we should play a little bit more close to the vest and stop what they're doing as opposed to trying to run in and kill them. I think that we should be just a touch more tentative and kind of pay attention to what they're doing, almost like a little bit more of a read and react type of a situation as opposed to just going after and trying to kill Wentz, because they're gonna take advantage of that, and their running attack is no joke, man.
Yeah, I really like their running back. I mean, we talked about it already on the Sunday show. Taylor is a beast, and Nyheim Hines is a threat all over the field, kind of like a Carter. He is very, very dangerous out of the backfield. So what do you think, James, schematically, play call style? Like, what are you doing on the offensively and defensively to get after the Colts?
Yeah, so defensively, listen, Carson Wentz, mistake prone, right? Just the fact of the matter. He'll give you a gift every now and then. I think the biggest pieces of this defense, and it kind of goes maybe without saying, but Quinnen Williams has to create that pressure up the middle, right? And C.J. Mosley, I mean, that dude he's unbelievable, but he's going to have a big day in needing to stop, big night in needing to stop that running game, because it really all starts and it ends with him. We saw him when he was out against the Patriots. It was, free lanes any which way you looked. And things looked a whole heck of a lot different on Sunday when he was in there. Obviously, it helps you have Jared Davis in there, and you get a couple guys back. The linebacking core was just decimated the other week. But Quinnen Williams up the middle forced some pressure on Carson Wentz, kind of in his face, right? But I'd sit back a little bit, right? And that's what the Jets do. They're a bend don't break defense, right? That's just kind of the fact of the matter. They sit back in their zones, and they try to sit on the short routes and hope you don't complete the long ball on them. And they try to take away those explosive plays. So I would stick with that in terms of sit back, let Carson Wentz think back there a little bit, right? And hope you continue to get that pressure. Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, these guys have to have a day, obviously, in the front four, because the defense is predicated on getting pressure with them. And obviously they'll throw in a blitz here and there. In terms of whether it's a zone blitz or a man blitz, it seems like they like to play man pretty often on some third and short type of situations, and hope you get to stop and bring some pressure. But biggest thing other than the run game is the Colts are going to test whether or not the Jets can still stop a screen pass. That's going to be the fact of the matter. They, Frank Reich or whoever calls the plays for the Colts, they're looking at more than just what the Jets did against Cincinnati. They're going to go back, for all the games this year. I mean, as much as you could watch in 3 days since you're playing on a Thursday, but they're going to understand that, hey, listen, we can get some yards on these screen passes, whether it's a third and long situation. And, you surprised us. We've dealt with that this year. Third and I think it might've been 21 or 22 against the Titans, and they converted on a screen pass. And,
Right.
Even last week, the crowd was chanting screen pass. There was a third and 16, and they threw a screen pass to Joe Mixon, but the crowd was screaming screen pass before the snap, and that's kind of just everyone's kind of knows it, and that means the Colts are going to try to test it. So what that means is defensive line, you can't just be kind of rushing blindly, right? If those linemen release, you got to follow, because most likely they're taking you to the play. And offensively, I don't think a lot's going to change. Obviously, they're going to run their staple plays and things like that. But yes, my game plan is to get these guys moving east-west, get them moving laterally, open up that middle of the field in terms of run game. But that's what this offense does. They move more horizontally than vertically. I think that's why we've seen a lack of deep passes to some of these receivers that we were kind of hoping to, a Denzel Mims hoping to get a deep pass for. So I think offensively what you do is you get these guys moving. You get Elijah Moore on the move pre-snap, Jamison Crowder And listen, if Michael Carter or Ty Johnson is open in the flat, just get him the ball. Mike White's going to need that, and I'm not saying not every quarterback needs it, but give him that safety blanket where he could just dump it off if he needs to, because he did a great job doing it on Sunday. Don't, totally reinvent the wheel because you're afraid the Colts are now all of a sudden just going to figure out Mike White. That's my dad always says that. My dad's always like, well, we're walking out of the stadium and he's like, well, now they got the tape on Mike White. Like, he was disappointed in a sense that, that they'd have to so much change it up. But I think, you keep it mostly the same, and Mike White will be just fine, in my opinion. I can't wait to see.
I like this guy, John. I like this James character. He speaks my language.
Yeah, this is why he's here.
Yeah, there you go. See? There we go.
All right. We'll go to the chat, and then maybe I'll give a few ideas on what I think, but we'll go to Mr. Jets Blues. New to the channel. I've not seen you before. Welcome. He says, on offense, if Mike White plays like a competent NFL quarterback and limits turnovers, we will have a shot. Pressure on Wentz for the defense. Yeah, man, that's going to be one of my keys, and I say it a lot, but we actually could use a John Franklin Myers type of game like he had versus the Titans. It's funny, like, people are already like, oh, he got his contract, and they're like worried that he's not, giving his all. I'm not really sure if that's a valid take, but it would be nice to see him shut some people up. We could use the pass rush, obviously. Jabari Zuniga, hey, buddy. Let's go, man. Do it again. You don't have to sack the quarterback, but go ahead and get some pressures on Carson Wentz. That would be super awesome. We know Quinnen Williams, Sheldon Rankins. That's my big one. Like, if I'm going to focus on one thing specifically, I want our defense to have a really, really good game. I don't think that if we allow, north of 24, 28, 30 points, I don't know if we'll win the game. It's going to need to be a little bit lower scoring for us to win, in my opinion, if we're going to have a shot. But that's a tall task, man. We talked about it. What's the kid's name? The son of Michael Pittman Jr. Sorry. Michael Pittman Jr. is looking really, really good, and he is Carson Wentz's favorite wide receiver right now. Again, we keep saying it every week. Can't wait to see Bryce Hall lined up against another another wide receiver. What are your thoughts on Bryce Hall not following the wide receiver one? Because it doesn't seem that he does that yet. We'll go to James first on that one. James, what do you think? He didn't really follow any one particular receiver. Do you care? What are your thoughts on that?
No, so I don't care in regards to following. I think to be honest, I think there's very few guys probably in the history of the NFL that can literally week to week just say, okay, all right, that's that team's best wide receiver. Just follow him around all game long. If he goes into the stands to get a snack, you follow him there too. Wherever he's got to go, you go. Obviously, we were fortunate enough to have one of those guys in Darrelle Revis. Probably the closest thing, in my opinion, that we've seen probably since then is maybe a hot take, but Jalen Ramsey. I don't think there are many guys around the league, if any right now, that have the ability to just say, all right, that's the guy's number one. I'm taking him away. All other 10 guys just worry about the rest of the field. So to me, I like the way they play it. You got a boundary corner, you got a field corner, you got a right corner, you got a left corner. Just keep it that way. Stay in your zones and keep everything in front of you. When you're playing man, that matchup becomes the matchup. But yeah, it doesn't bother me that he won't follow. He probably won't, if ever, follow a team's number one. I think that's just the way it's going to be.
Yep. And so it'll be important that the other guys step up and do a good job versus Pittman Jr. They'll move him around, though. They're not going to have him just in one spot. So, yeah, that's a factor, I think. So getting after Wentz for sure. Grant Rude, he says, interesting. He says more horizontal than vertical, much like the 49ers, like what we were expecting with LaFleur.
Right. With the wide zone and everything. That was kind of the hope. was that we were going to come out that way, but it hasn't materialized. That's why it was so nice to see the success of our offense this week, because we actually got an opportunity to see what page 2 of the playbook looks like. You know, like they've been stuck on the figurative page 1, but getting a few first downs, allowing us to have some drives, you started to see a little bit more of what we can do. And I think if that's the case again, we will see a little bit more of what James was talking about with the east to west, the horizontal game, getting that. And look, it gets defensive linemen and linebackers huffing and puffing. Like I said, if you get them to run 12 yards to stop a 3-yard run, and you can do that consistently, that is beneficial to the offense. It starts to wear down the defense. So you start that right from the word go. By the third quarter, it's having an effect.
All right. I like it. Got a comment from Frankie talking about Bryce Hall. He also throws in a draft name, Sauce Gardner. What are your thoughts on cornerback, Green Bean? I think I saw it in the comments earlier, and I think we see it the same way. I kind of want to hold off in the first round on a cornerback. I know it's not draft season necessarily, but I like talking about the draft. It's fun. What are you thinking on how to address cornerback in the draft, or not at all, whatever you thought?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to bring somebody in. I would be really surprised if they used a first-round pick like we talked about earlier. Look at what they're getting out of 5th and 6th and the like. And I made a mistake earlier. I said Pinnock was the 4th. It was actually Sherwood that was the 4th. So Pinnock was also a 5th. Even though we're not seeing him, it's just a point I wanted to make.
See you, Green Bean. You already screwed up. You're done, buddy. See ya.
I know, right? It's like, shit. And it's recorded too, so I'll get comments later telling everybody tell me I'm a fraud and everything else. I get that, so it's fine. But so I don't see this particular staff focusing on cornerback in the same way that other staffs we've had. Like, for example, Rex Ryan, he loved cornerbacks. He used firsts and seconds on cornerbacks, high level free agents cornerbacks. It was all predicated on his cornerbacks. This defense is a little bit different. They're focused on the trench. They're focused on the pass rush. And I really think we're going to use at least one of our first round picks on an edge rusher. And I think that's what should happen, quite frankly. But I think if we see a cornerback brought in early, I wouldn't expect it till the second or third round. And I think that they should. I mean, Eccles, like I said, he looks good, and he did a pretty damn good job on Jamar Chase. Because like you were saying, John, it's not that Hall is just following the receiver around. And it did look like Eccles ended up being on Chase a little bit more, and Hall was playing against Higgins. So Eccles did a good job, but I do think that he could probably end up being upgraded and just be a part of the rotation. So I could see a guy being brought in, but I wouldn't think a first round pick, maybe a second, probably a third, in my opinion.
Cool take. Rick Fisher, you sent in a super chat, and I do very much appreciate that, but go ahead and send in if you have a question or if you want to talk about something specifically, go ahead and throw that in there, because I don't see a message attached to it. Maybe you're just being nice, and if you are, I appreciate that. The support means a lot. James, why don't you go ahead? What are your thoughts on, we're fast forwarding a little bit here, but what are your thoughts on potentially bringing in a cornerback early in the draft or not doing that?
Yeah, I don't think it happens early on. My answer may change based on what the draft. I think it's all predicated on where we have the draft picks, right? If we're 2 top 10 picks, honestly, I don't see it happening in terms of picking a corner that early, because then you think about it, there's a whole host of picks coming beyond that. It's not just 2 first round picks, and we don't have any other valuable picks. I think we have 2 seconds as well, if I'm correct. 2 seconds as well. Joe Douglas is going to want to find. He always wants to find value, but I think more names are going to come up. We're at that point in the college football season or draft season, I think, where those big names are getting all the notoriety. And then as we get closer to the draft, you say, okay, well, we can go here with this pick, But now we know about this guy who's got second or third round, value on him, but he could be a really good player if we get him at that point in time. So I think, Sauce Gardner, obviously a really talented cornerback out of Cincinnati. There are a lot of guys in that group. I don't know if he's going to wind up being CB1 in the draft. He may, I don't want to say fall a little bit, but there's a lot of guys up for that conversation right now. I just don't see it happening that early on, especially if we have 2 top 10 picks.
Yeah, and I'll summarize what you guys said, because you guys know college a little bit better. A lot better than I do. The one thing I will say, though, is that neither of you are saying that Sauce Gardner is not a good football player or not worth a first-round pick. I just want to make sure, because maybe some people will misconstrue. Very, very good football player. Yes. I don't know if it necessarily goes with the philosophy of this current regime. They could surprise us, though, and they could take a cornerback early. I actually do agree with you, Green Bean. I still think edge and O-line, if you're going to do something in the first round, definitely I'm all in on that. I do want to ask you, too, because it was not getting on my nerves, but it's interesting that some people want to invest 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft, both on the offensive line. That's not anybody in this chat. That's just something that I see a lot on social media. And to me, that is an oversaturation of the O-line group. We'll have spent 4 first-rounders in 3 years on the offensive line group. And I made it very clear on Twitter. I said, look, I want our offensive line to be the second best position group on offense, aside from quarterback. That's what drives the offense. But I think personally for me, I think if you're spending 2 firsts this year after already having spent 2 the previous 2, what do you think about that? James, I'll let you go first. Do you agree with me? You can disagree, of course. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, again, I'm assuming it's the Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. I'm sorry.
No,
Iowa.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, get him off. See ya. Yep, you're off too. It's just going to be a solo pod tonight.
See you guys. The center from Iowa, he's obviously, the hot name right now. And, Kenyon Green, he's the guard from Texas A&M. You can kick me off, but I think I'm correct. I think I'm correct there. I think Texas A&M. And I see that a lot. I don't think you can go 2 interior offensive line players. I think that's probably an overreaction to what we've kind of seen in terms of, the play from it's like, all right, well, we got this 6th overall pick. Let's replace Greg Van Roten with it. I don't think that's how you should structure the team. There's a lot of different things that they can do, a lot of different holes, a lot of valuable positions out there. You guys mentioned one of them with edge. There are a few guys in this edge class that could be around for, one of the Jets' top 10 picks, if that's what it comes out to be. But I wouldn't. And I don't know how you guys feel about this too, but being that you had, your left tackle is the 2020 draft, your left guard is the 2021 draft, and then you'd have a center and the right guard, presumably, in the 2022 draft. You'd probably have 3 years of that group. Then if they're really as good as you think they are, it wouldn't be sustainable financially long-term to most likely keep them all. So I think they think about, and I don't know if you guys agree, but GM-wise, financially, cap space-wise, they probably think about that too in terms of, hey, if we put that much draft capital in, we're probably not going to be able to keep them forever. So we kind of need to spread out the money here a little bit. I think that might be a factor too in why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be critical of anybody. I just think that, again, it's we do have many more positions to upgrade. And again, just because we're not drafting 2 offensive linemen in the first round does not mean we can't draft 2 offensive linemen in the draft. I do think that there needs to be more of a farm system going on with this offensive line. We need to be continuously drafting offensive linemen over the next or forever. We need to be continuing to draft offensive linemen every year, defensive linemen every year, because that's how you have depth, and that's one of the most critical positions to have depth. because they go down, man. They're in the trenches. That's a tough spot to be in, and to play every single play and every game, it's just too hard. All right, that was fun. Draft talk is always cool. Robbie Oak says if we get Hutchinson and Linderbaum though, ... Yes, I could. I mean, listen, if they did that, of course it would be very, very popular, I think. But again, it's more of a long-term thing I'm looking at there. Let's see. Grant Rude, he says there are easily 8 tight ends worthy of second to third round draft picks. That would be an upgrade to the Jets tight end room. Just depends on the flavor that you like. And I am starting to do my research, and I have seen multiple names. I really liked the Ohio State guy myself as well. I know there was a comment there earlier about Ruckert.
Mm-hmm.
He looks quite good. I mean, honestly, man, anybody that can stretch the field a little bit in the seam and be well-rounded and be able to help in the run game as well, I think that's very, very important for us. All right, cool. We'll move on from the draft, and we are going to also move on from game planning versus the Colts. Get some turnovers, Jets, hit Wentz, and good things will happen, in my opinion. All right, prediction time. This will be our last discussion topic, and then, guys, if you want to throw in any comments, go right ahead and do that, and we will end the show with you guys. If you have not hit the like button on this stream, I will ask you to do that for the first time tonight. I would really greatly appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, if you're watching it and you are just checking us out, hope you consider subscribing as well. Let's see. We went to James first last time. I can't recall. Okay, so we'll go Green Bean's way. A lot of people were giving you credit for Mike White being the next Tom Brady. I know you made a video about it, Green Bean, saying why the hell not? Why can't it be him? So let's hear your secret sauce first. This is not what you are hoping will happen. This is what you truly believe will happen in the game. You can give me a score if you'd like, and some players that you believe have to play great, players that you expect to have great games for the Jets.
Yeah. Well, and very quickly, I agree about the tight ends. And last year I was trying to convince everybody that tight end was actually a greater need than wide receiver for us. And I got laughed at and made fun of, and people called me fat and ugly and all kinds of fun stuff. And here we are. So I think this will be the year that we see one too. And I think it's the perfect time, man. I think Kenny Yeboah, 1 year in the system, we continue to groom him and bring in a nice, big, strong tight end like Ruckert, like Kolar, like Wiedermeyer, somebody like that. I think it would be really fun. But what I expect to happen in this game, let me say what I hope to happen. All right. And kind of like expectations. I find it impossible to be negative because I believe in thoughts hitting the ether and all that kind of stuff. I gotta do my part, man, and at least throw one little positive nugget up into the stratosphere. So, but I do hope that we are able to get the offense going, even if it's not scoring right away. I do not want to see up in 3, down in 3. I don't want to see our first 3 drives end in, 3 up in 3 and then a punt. 3 downs and a punt. I don't want to see that. If we can get 2-3 firsts per drive to kind of get it ramped up, I would be totally happy with that. Obviously, I want to score, but I would be happy if we could just stay on the field for a few minutes and just kind of make this a game. I do expect Mike White to look good. I really do. Now, 405, I highly doubt it. Do I want it? Yes. I highly doubt it, but I do expect him to look competent. I don't think we're going to see a complete regression, 18 for 40, for 114 yards. I don't see that. I see a nice, efficient game, and I think that we're going to have some success against this defense. Now, as far as our defense, I really expect their run game to give us fits. I like James was saying, like I think you too, with C.J. Mosley and Jared Davis. I'm so happy Jared Davis is back, and I think that's to our benefit. And if we have 3 linebackers on the field, adding Quincy Williams to the mix, I think that'll really aid us in that, ability to stop the run game. And if we can like really just settle down their running game and the impact of their running backs, I think we got a real shot to contain this offense. Pittman's great. Love Pittman. One of my favorite receivers in the entire league, quite frankly. I just love him. But our cornerbacks have been doing well with big name receivers and guys that they're expected to shred them, and they don't. So I think we'll be able to at least keep him pedestrian to some extent. And if we could just handle their running backs with our linebackers, I think we got a real shot in this game, man. So I'm looking for competitive. I'm looking for our offense to stay on the field for a little while, a little bit of an efficient offense. And I think that we're going to end up pulling it out and surprising everybody 24-21. That's what I see happening.
21. Okay. Very nice job. James, you can go ahead. Your turn.
Yeah, so the Jets are going to win this game. Flat out. The Jets are going to win the game.
Right.
I gave Saleh a really hard time after the Patriots game because I thought there was like a loss of intensity there, right? He was the guy in the offseason that was saying, they're going to have to deal with our violence. They're going to have to deal with our speed, all of this fun stuff. And then after the Patriots game, it was like, well, sometimes you just get your teeth kicked in. And I was like, whoa, I feel like I'm listening to two different people. What happened? But I think he needs to get this locker room going like he did against the Bengals. There was something about it. I was sitting in the stands watching them warm up pregame. Everybody was excited. It did not look like a team that just got beat 54-13. So there was something in that room pregame during the week that these guys got motivated, and I'm going to credit it to Saleh getting those guys prepared for Sunday. And I think there's some, bulletin board material. You just came off a win like you did. Nobody believes in you still, right? I think Vegas has them at has the Colts at minus 10.5. I get it. They're the Jets. That's the perception outside of the fan base and the building and things like that. But you just came off of an impressive win when, the Colts lost the game that they really very well could have won. And then you turn around on a quick week on a Thursday. Usually the Thursday I'm not that psyched up about all across the league because I just don't think it's enough time for guys to get prepared. But here I think in turn it actually benefits the Jets coming off the win that they had. The juice is still flowing. It's not setting in very long. They're going to wake up tomorrow and it's game day already. And I think offense-wise, I think Mike White's going to be competent. I think he's going to be good because he was very weirdly poised, and I don't want to say weird. It was his first NFL start, so to be poised in that first NFL start, I think is super impressive. That's kind of the thing that I wasn't expecting in terms of he just kind of hung in the pocket. You don't really see that very often from guys that are, I guess, young or making their first NFL start. When that happens and things get clogged up, they tend to leave and then, try to do something they're probably not supposed to do. And it turns into a bad result. So he was very poised in that start. And I think it's going to carry over into Thursday and he'll be competent. I don't think he's going to throw for 400 yards. I'd like to see the turnovers go down, even though I don't think really maybe either one of the interceptions was on him last week. Maybe one of them, the one to Crowder, but turnovers go down. I think the Jets bring the juice, similar to what they did with the Bengals, and they're kind of riding high. And the defense, C.J. Mosley is my guy right now. One guy we haven't talked about, and big shout out to him. Who had Shaq Lawson getting the Jets' first interception of the year? Anyone bet that?
I know, right?
Because he batted down a couple balls, and that pick was the game basically. You're down by 4 or 5 points at that point in time, and Joe Burrow's got 4 minutes and change on the clock. That was the game. So I think C.J. Mosley is the difference in this football game in terms of being able to stop that run game that the Colts can bring and diagnosing those screen passes. I think he's the ultimate difference. And the Jets win. I actually had written on my paper, I had 23-20. So very close to Green Bean over there. So I got 23-20 Jets.
This is two hard acts to follow. So we got 2 Jets picks, and first of all, a couple of comments. You guys are just blowing it up. I really do appreciate all of the comments with your predictions as well. A lot of people predicting Jets to win the football game. Real quick, because we got a new guy in the stream here. We got Captain Techno. He says, new to the stream, never been here before. It's glad to have you, man. Thanks for checking us out. He asked
He's in Ireland.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we have
Dude.
we have a dude in another guy in Ireland as well, and shoot, there was one from I think New Zealand as well. It's so funny how this little internet thing works, man. You can connect with people from all over the world. It's just super cool. Well, anyway, happy to have you here. Thanks for checking us out. And we are not new. He asked if we were a new channel or a new stream. Nope, we've been doing this for almost a year now, so it's been a lot of fun, man. Doing this with other Jets fans and talking with you guys in the chat. It's been just a blast. Can't say anything other than it's been a really, really great ride doing this. I can't say how much I appreciate everybody who tunes in. It really does mean quite a bit. So anyway, I'm going to be the negative Nancy here. I'm not going to predict a blowout or anything like that. On the road, short week, young team. I'm not going the negative route here, but I am going to say 20-17 that we will lose. We will be competitive. I famously or infamously said that after the Titans game that we were going to kick the shit out of the Falcons. I was uber confident going into that one. I really felt that we were going to win that football game. This is not just me trying to be contrarian, though. I think that they have some really, really good football players. They're a little bit more experienced. They are at home. Again, I already said it, short week. That does mean a lot when you're talking about the youngest team in football. And Joe Douglas said it in his press conference. They have the most rookie snaps in the NFL. So the mistakes will be made, but I think that we will have a shot to win this football game. By no means do I sit here and say we have no chance to win. I'm with Green Bean. I do think Mike White will look good in this game. I think that he will maybe struggle a little bit early on, might press a little bit, and then he'll settle down some. But man, it's amazing. A lot of people really are very confident going into this one. I don't know. I think that they're a pretty decently coached team. Some people are pretty negative on who the hell is he? Godly day. The Bills backup, Frank Reich. People seem to be a little bit negative on him at times. I really love their offense. The playmakers that they have, like we already talked about it, the running game. It's going to be hard to stop Taylor and Nyheim Hines all game long, even though we are pretty healthy in the linebacking group. Maybe we miss a kick because we've seen, that's another thing I'll say, there were a lot of people that were very, very excited about our kicker coming out of the preseason game. I never saw it that way. He was very sketchy in that preseason game versus the Packers. And I know people were like, oh, he hit a 50-yarder. He barely freaking made that 50-yarder. And it looked weird coming off of the foot. So maybe we miss a kick in this game. That could be the difference in the game. Would suck to lose a game like that. But
it would.
And I'll say this, man. I'll be happy with us being competitive. I don't want to be negative, but I think that's a step in the right direction. If we were competitive in this football game with all of the different things that I mentioned, boo, John. Yes, I know. But yeah, I think if we were competitive in this football game, that would be also a good thing. That would not be a bad thing. So 20-17 is my prediction. Let's go back to the chat, and then I think we'll put a bow on the show because that's my little line here. All right, so
yeah, I like it. Well, look, John, and that's because that's really all we wanted this year. Of course, we're always rooting to win, right? I mean, I'd love to be undefeated and go to the Super Bowl. Like, that's my hope every year. But realistically, we just wanted to see the young team progress. We wanted to see Zach and the defensive backs just kind of learn through their mistakes, the young coaches. And that's why Atlanta and New England were so devastating for us, because we didn't even look like we were like that we had arrived. It was like, what's going on with this team? And that's when Denver too. Good point. Even Carolina for the first half, we looked lost and confused, and so that's why those games were so disappointing. And even though I want to win every game, the truth is, for this season, I really just want to watch these young guys become legitimate NFL starters and the team as a whole progress, because they're so young. If they do, they're going to be together for years. And that, I mean, when's the last time we had that? We have a new team every friggin' year. So it'd be nice to have a group of players together for 4 or 5 years, because that's when you can be really good.
Yep. All right. Great stuff, man. This was a lot of fun. Before I go, because a lot of people are talking about it, we are going to move the Wednesday show. I'm turning it into a video. I have really missed making videos, and I haven't been able to find any time during the season. I've got a little one at home, and she takes up all my time basically. But my thought is that I can move the Wednesday stream to Sunday like we've been doing, and then once the season concludes, I can then flip-flop it. We'll go back to Wednesday live streaming all off season long. I think some people are pretty upset about that. The stream is still going to happen every single week. The only difference is that I really want to make videos. I want to make content, and that's really the main reason for the decision. It has absolutely nothing to do. That's a funny comment. That's a very funny comment. No, well, maybe I am. I'm trying my hand at being a Joe Rogan. I don't know, man. I just think it would be fun. It gets my creative juices flowing a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I love talking Jets, so that's really the whole point of it all. So, all right.
Good for you, man.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah. So that's the whole thing. I don't have the time to do 2 streams plus some video content creation and editing. So a 4-hour Sunday stream, man, that would be a hell of a thing. I appreciate the comment, Grant Rude. And Edward Stewart, I really do appreciate that compliment as well. All right, any last words from you, James, before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, listen, I have a great time on these streams, so hopefully on Sundays I'll be around. I mean, I tend to have maybe 1 too many beers here and there during the Jets game, so Sunday nights could get interesting. But no, it's been great. I'm looking forward to the podcast. It's gonna be fun to hear you talk Jets and make the videos. I'm looking forward to the videos too. So
I appreciate it.
So go Jets, and I'm telling you, we're coming out with a win tomorrow night.
There you go. Confidence. All right, Green Bean, any last words before we put the bow on the show?
Yeah, well, number one, thank you for having me. It was really cool to be here with you two, and I thoroughly enjoyed listening to your thoughts, in addition to how much I enjoy my own. So I really agree with me a lot. But so I wanted to let everybody know we're having a big contest over at Green Bean Jets Fans YouTube. I'm trying to make this last push for my 1 year on YouTube, which ends on December 27th. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subs. So all you have to do to be entered is sub on my Green Bean Jets Fan YouTube and my Full-Time Coaster Tour YouTube. I am literally 6 subs away from 1,000 at Full-Time Coaster Tour. If you haven't
Congrats, man.
I know, dude. It's exciting. Please go over there and just hit that sub button. If you do, a few winners are getting a T-shirt. 1 winner's getting a T-shirt and a Manscaped Ultra Smooth package. So I really appreciate the support and look forward to finding out who the winners are. So thank you.
Sounds good. Great stuff, Green Bean. Looks like you got maybe at least a couple tonight. So I hope you guys do consider subscribing to his channel. All right. That's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the game on tomorrow night. And go Jets, man. Have a great night. See you guys next time. Peace. Word from my daughter.